There Are Stories to Tell is a series of Black History Month talks by the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor happening Tuesdays in February at the Frank E. Merriweather Jr. Library in Buffalo. Next Tuesday, Dr. Barbara Seal Nevergold presents Andrew Jackson Smitherman, a pen warrior in defense of his people. And what a story it is. Smitherman was a journalist, an advocate, a survivor of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. He settled in Buffalo in 1925, and over the next 35 years, he published the Buffalo Star. We had the chance to speak with Dr. Nevergold to learn more.
When I started doing the research on Mr. Smitherman and learned more about his life, what he had endured in the Tulsa Race Massacre, how he had really rebuilt his life here in Buffalo after that tragedy, and became a contributing member, but because he always was, but was quite involved in the community. And I thought it must have taken a very special man to have that kind of fortitude to rebuild his life after the tragedy in Tulsa. And that's what attracted me to him and attracted me to study more and learning more about who this person was.
It's interesting because he really lost everything, and he went through a lot of hardships in his life, but he really never lost sight of his goal of what he wanted to do.
He really never lost his faith, and I think that was one thing too that was certainly very important about him. It certainly sustained him. And he talked about when you get to the end of the rope, tie a knot and hang on. So that seemed to be his motto, his creed. But he was a poet as well. So in his poems, he also expresses that faith, and that belief in that you can overcome and that you can, certainly survive tragedies and rise like the phoenix to live again.
We don't want to give too much away with the talk that you'll be giving next week, of course. But where do you even start to tell his story? What do you think is most important?
Well, when I started to look back at his early life and at how he became a journalist, I found that that is also where he cemented, or where he built his belief in the fact that African Americans absolutely had the right to protect themselves from mobbists, he called them. And so, that was early on. We're talking about 1909, 1908, somewhere, and he was talking about African Americans having the right to protect themselves. He was talking about the fact that white supremacists were lawless, and that there was a need, to address the lawlessness. And in 1908, 1909, that was talk, and it wasn't just not talk, he was writing about it. That would certainly get you lynched. And so, again, that impressed me that this man had such courage and was able to tell the truth, even if it meant that he put himself in harm's way.
What do you think his legacy is?
Well, that's what we're working on. I mean, I at this point in time, the Tulsa Race Massacre, and it's gone through several names. It was a riot at one point, but for many, many years, nobody knew about that massacre. They didn't know that a significant part of Tulsa, Black Tulsa, was destroyed, and that people lost their lives, and that included people in Tulsa. And so the fact that there's a need, I think, to again expose that and to learn lessons. What were the lessons that we could learn from that tragedy that occurred? How do people rebuild their lives? How do we need to tell that story? So my inspiration is to say that when you tell the story, make sure that you include Andrew Smitherman, because he was a big part of the story. And I don't think it can be told without him as one of the central characters in the Tulsa Race Massacre.
And also, he didn't get to tell his own story. He was in the process of telling his own story.
Yes, that's right. He was writing his autobiography up until the very day he died. As a matter of fact, one of the other newspapers, the Criterion paper, when they reported his death, said that he was sitting at his desk writing when he had his heart attack. So he was writing his life story then, and he had completed probably about 40 chapters when he died. And
The talks run from 6 to 7 p.m. You can attend either in person or through Zoom, and you can learn more about this event and others happening throughout the month by going to michiganstreetbuffalo.org or calling 716-322-1002. That is Most Buffalo for today. This is Kate Welsh Show for Be Well, Stay Well. We will see you next time.